Hey everybody. So I want to continue this idea that we started talking about on Saturday about transforming your mindset. I had lunch with a friend yesterday. We had this great conversation that started talking about, writing letters to younger us. What would we have said to ourselves? And it made me think. So I want you guys to actually do something for me right here. I want you to pull out a piece of paper and pull out a pen. At the top of that piece of paper, write, "Dear Younger Me." Underneath that, draw a line down the page, separating it into two columns. On the left column, I'm gonna have you write a letter to yourself about a year before something specific happened in your life, right? That one event that didn't go your way. Whether that was the breakup, the makeup, not getting into the school you wanted to get into, going to school when you shouldn't have, maybe even something tragic that happened. I want you to write a letter to yourself 1 year before that, and just go from there. So go ahead, pause the video, please, actually write a letter to yourself, what you would have said a year before that event. All right, I hope you paused that video. I hope you wrote that down. At the very least, I hope you paused the video and took time to think about what you would have wrote to younger you in that instance. Now for the second column, the right side of the page, I want you to write a letter to yourself 1 day after that happened. A letter right after that happened. What would you write to yourself? All right, go ahead, pause the video, write that letter to yourself. All right, I hope you wrote that letter. You can set that off to the side now. There's one thing I want to point out. There are probably two different ways that you wrote that first letter to yourself. You probably had a list of do's and don'ts, to be honest, in there. A list of do this, don't do this, study more, talk to this person more, hang out with this person, don't get back together with this person. Whatever it was, you probably had a list of do's and don'ts. Or you may have thought, this situation didn't go the way I wanted, but it seemed to turn out pretty well. So I'm not going to tell myself to change things. I'm just going to offer some encouragement, some kind of advice, something like that. You might have done that. Maybe you told yourself to brush your teeth more. I don't know, something like that. Probably, just kind of general encouragement. But I'll bet with the second letter, we were probably all pretty similar. We probably all said, hey, I know you're going through this major struggle right now. I know it doesn't seem like there's a way out, but trust me, things get better. I know you really wanted this to happen and it didn't, but because this didn't happen, things actually worked out in a way that would have never happened had you been in any other circumstance. And so you can be, it's okay to be thankful for that and say, offer encouragement to this younger you who's going through a really tough time. Right now, because of COVID, we're probably all suffering in one way or another, some significantly more than others. I don't want to minimize that. But maybe your vacation got canceled that you've been planning for a long time. Maybe your high school graduation got canceled. Your senior season of your sport got canceled. Maybe you lost your job. Maybe you lost a friend or a relative because of this. Things are not going your way right now. You're in this situation, this before and after situation that we talked about. Often when we're in these before and after situations, when we're in these bad situations, we write ourselves in our head unconsciously a first letter. We tell ourselves, I have to make these decisions. I shouldn't have made this decision. We have this continuum of best outcome based on this decision and worst outcome based on another decision. And we feel that our decisions have this huge weight in how our life will go. But we need to offer ourselves more grace. We need to get in what I call the second letter mindset. When we write these letters to ourselves after the event, we're often much more gracious to ourselves. Things work out. Things are okay. You didn't think you'd get through it, but you will. And if we can take that step to write ourselves a second letter when we're in the moment, I can assure you will have more peace, more happiness, and just feel more fulfilled when you're going through those rough times and be able to help yourself and help others better. I want to offer a couple verses of encouragement for this as well. Romans 8:28 says, "For we know that all things work for the good of those who love him, to those who have been called according to his purpose." That's a verse that a lot of Christians hang on. You can take it out of context, but a lot of people tend to, but you shouldn't. So I want to share that verse is saying that all things work for the good of everyone, like the collective group for those who love God. And this has an eternal time frame on it, right? It is not saying that everything will work out perfect in your life in this moment. It is not the prosperity gospel. I am not telling you that, and I hope it's evident from this next verse. The next verse is John 16:33, and it says, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, because I have overcome the world. God says you will not have a perfect life. Nothing will always go your way all the time. But take heart, because I have overcome the world. So in me, you can have peace. If you put your hope in me, you can have peace. So I want us to also think that there's this God out there, right? We believe in this God. He's omnipotent. He's awesome. He is all good, all holy. And that same God that created the world, that created you, and that wrote your story is incapable of any evil inclination or thought. He has your eternal best interest in mind. You can trust this God. You can have peace in this God. So I want to help you put yourself in this second letter mindset. One, ask yourself the question, am I offering myself grace in this moment? Am I giving myself grace in this moment? The second thing I want you to do, I want you to get another piece of blank paper. I want you to write this down. If you don't write it down, think about it, but I really, really encourage you to write this one down and store it away somewhere for reference later. I want you to write a letter to Dear Current Me. This is you writing yourself a letter from 5 years in the future from now, from the situation you're going in. Write down, hey, I know you're going through this really, really tough situation. I know things don't always seem like they're gonna work out. Like you can't even see the end of it. But I can assure you, things work out. You get to do things you never thought you would have been able to do if it would have went your way. And I encourage you to write down those verses, maybe even write down, and I'm really glad that you focused on those two verses, specifically John 16:33, that you will have trouble, but things work out. You can have peace in God because God has overcome the world. Focus on those things. This God that wrote your story has your best interest in mind, your eternal best interest in mind. Every inclination he has is good. There's no evil in his thought. He wrote your story. He created you. So let's help shift our mindset from this automatic first letter mindset that we have, that we feel like every decision we make has these, huge ramifications on how our life turns out. And let's focus on the second letter mindset. Let's give ourselves grace in the moment. Grace enough to have peace, that things aren't going the way we wanted, that maybe we didn't make a good decision, but we can learn from that. We can use that and things will be all right. So I hope that offers you some encouragement. I hope that helps you change your mindset just a little bit, transform your mindset into a more positive way. Because I think we look back at our life and we often see all the ways that God worked through things that we never thought he could. But in the moment, it is so hard to see that. So I hope you have your letter. I hope you have your Dear Current Me letter written. And you can see the change that you can have in your mindset on the situation going right now. You go from that first letter mindset and you switch to that second letter mindset of giving yourself grace and understanding that things don't always have to go as planned, but things work out. And God promises us that in the Bible.